Well, hello, and welcome back to my mental health awareness video series. So today I decided to do a video that was requested of me, and today's topic is addictions. So I was going to go and use notes and such, do a bit of research and give you a bit more accuracy and information around things. But the information that I want to give you wasn't as in-depth as what the internet was suggesting and stuff, and I'm just like, well, I have more to provide than their stereotypes of what addiction falls under. So, what is addiction? It's when you are dependent on a substance where you feel that over time you need more and more of. You feel that you can't live without it, and it's the only thing that can really make you relax, escape, cope, that kind of stuff. It's something that your body feels that it needs more of over time, and it's hard to stop. So those words, something that is hard to stop, that your body needs more of. So when we talk about addictions, the first thing that people usually come up with, and what the internet tells me, drugs and alcohol. So it's like, the things that are socially acceptable, like tobacco use and alcohol, can be seen as addictive because it's easy to access. It's easy to, walk on the streets with a cigarette, even though there may be, guidelines now about where you can and can't smoke and stuff like that. You can bum one off someone, and it's like, if someone's got one or a light or something like that, it's easy to make conversation, that kind of stuff. It's socially acceptable. But then we also talk about things that people see as addiction, is things like your narcotics, like cocaine, weed, ice, speed, stuff like that, like your narcotic substances. But so that's what the internet's telling me to talk about and stuff like that. But then I thought, there are a lot of other things that we can be addicted to, and it doesn't just have to be seen as your stereotypical drugs and alcohol. They may be the main thing that people go and seek help for, but there are other things like, what you can be dependent on, they could be things like sugar. You can be dependent on sugar, certain food products, that kind of stuff. You can be dependent on things like sex and pornography and stuff, your over-the-counter medications, your prescriptions. When we think about for your mental health and people get prescribed Valium, that's addictive. Your benzos, your opiates, your Valiums, your antidepressants and all that kind of stuff. As much as your psychiatrist or your doctor and such may prescribe it for you, your body builds up a dependency against these things, and so you need to take more to be able to feel it. And your body over a period of time says that we need more of this to feel something, so you need to take more, or you need something stronger than this, but you have to have it almost every day to feel the release that you need, and so your body becomes dependent. There are other things, if we want to go into personal experience, I have things that I've been addicted to, things that tried to help me cope, things that I felt could have been life-changing and stuff, which obviously I learnt weren't. So I'll go into that. When it comes to things like over-the-counters, for example, or unhealthy coping mechanisms, I'll go there because I became addicted to this substance since I was 11. I'm 23, almost 24. Now, over time, this has broken down, and I'm not addicted, or I might do it every now and then, kind of because I can't cope. And I've tried other things, but I get to a point where nothing is helping, and so this behavior will come back up. So what I'm talking about is self-harm. At the age of 11, and this goes back into my self-harm video. At the age of 11, I started self-harming while I was in high school. And so it was my way of coping with things, pressures of school and stress and everything else happening around me. And so I've got many scars because I thought that, it was a good way to release my distress. But little did I know that over time I felt the need to do it every single day. So it's so many scars so many open wounds, worried family members and friends, and needing to link in with supports and stuff like that, because, well, I was a liability. I was a harm to myself. Not exactly people around me, but people were worried about me. This may have felt like it helped me because it had the dopamine in my brain and the GABA and, serotonin and all that kind of stuff. It's like, the feel-good hormones were being released because I thought that this was helping me. I felt that sense of release. I was able to see my blood leave my body, so it's like, I knew that I was still alive. I became addicted to this, and yes, it was not healthy. I needed help to be able to stop those behaviors. I self-harm in many different ways, and I'm not saying, that you should do this and stuff, because it's really not the greatest. You're hurting yourself. You've got people that are concerned. You could go too far, too deep and stuff like that. Whatever it is that you do to self-harm, not saying that you should or do. It's not, I'm not promoting anything. I'm just explaining from my experience. But I needed support, so therapy and stuff, to learn about distress tolerance and such, to reduce my behaviors and put in other things that I could do to distract myself and make me feel better, so that I didn't have to harm myself, because it was addictive. I became dependent on the behavior. Another thing that I was addicted to is your pharmaceuticals and stuff. So this is something that you see all the time: diet fads, things that are on TV, in the shops, in the chemist, in your grocery store, everywhere. So things that I'm talking about are things to influence weight loss and stuff like that. So your diet pills, your diuretics, your laxatives, your protein shakes, all that kind of stuff. And so let me tell you something. They do not help you lose weight. And I talk from personal experience. What they actually do with your protein shakes in particular, they are filled with calories. Nothing good is in it. So it's I'll have 2 or 3 a day and such, along with exercise and all of that. So you're just having calories on top of what you would be eating and stuff, and have to burn off extra. So what it all is, especially with your diuretics and your diet pills, your diuretics make you wake up in the middle of the night and you have to pee more. But yeah. And your diet pills they suppress your appetite. But they're not doing you any good. You're restricting. You're restricting your calorie intake and stuff. So what these things are placebos. These are things that they raise your heart rate, especially the Garcinia and green tea ones, which I was using. They do not help you in weight loss. They get your heart racing and you move more. Okay, so you may feel like exercising more. So you know what, it's not the pills that are I don't have to do anything, I can take these and then I'll end up losing weight. It's not how it works. It's a placebo effect, and you end up moving more because your heart is racing. You've got the adrenaline running through your body, and the dopamine wants a release, so you get out of the house, you go for a run, a walk, or cardio, strength-based activities, whatever it is that you choose to do, because it is a placebo effect. It doesn't actually help. So what happened with me was I never stuck to the recommended dosage. I think it was meant to be 2-3 pills a day or something like that, but here I am with 4 different brands, taking maybe 6 of each or something like that. So I took up to 20 to 40 pills a day, which in a short period of time, each time I overdosed, I ended up in hospital because of blackouts, being dehydrated and stuff, and being a risk of harm, being a liability, all that kind of stuff, because of a drug that I was dependent on. Trying to quit this was hard though, because it's I've got the money for it, so even if I get rid of these, I can just buy more. And that did happen, and the psychological effects to it, as well as the physiological effects, were not pretty. So when you're trembling, when you have anxiety, when you have sweats, when you get withdrawals, from the fact that it's something that you need. When you get the really unpleasant effects like diarrhea, constipation and stuff, when your heart's constantly racing when you have intrusive thoughts and stuff around needing the substance, it's time to actually stop. And it's not a good idea to just stop at once, because that can be actually life-threatening and do a lot more damage than what you were doing. You're supposed to wean off it over time. So maybe over a 6-month period of time, take less and less and less. So that's what I had to do. But for me, luckily, it got to a point where I was reducing, but also I didn't have the money for it anymore. So I couldn't afford it. Yes, I still think about it every now and then. It's like, oh, if I had this, then it'll help with my weight loss and stuff. I will want to get out more and exercise more and stuff like that. But it didn't do me any good, honestly. So that's an example of something that would seem very superficial and mainstream to be categorized as an addiction, because, well, it is. So I already knew that I had an issue. So it's the whole pre-contemplation part of it. There are two main stages of being an addict. So you've got the functional addict, which means that you can still do things, it doesn't really impact you, but you've got an addiction and stuff. And then you've got the unfunctional, dysfunctional, non-functional. The non-functional addict. And so that's where it impacts your daily life. You can't stop thinking about it. You always feel the need to have it. You will find ways of getting it. It impacts on your friends, your family, your work, your study, your social life, all that fun stuff, because this addiction gets in the way. So, as I said, it's not just drugs and alcohol and stuff. It could be pornography. It could be addicted to having sex. It could be an addiction to exercise. It's something that I feel like I constantly need to do. And it's it's not being a gym junkie, even though I used to constantly go to the gym and spend 5-6 hours there a day and stuff like that. Until I couldn't afford it anymore. So then it's going for walks, which is better for me. But, yeah, so there are many different types of things that you can be addicted to. It is the thing that allows you to release the dopamine in your brain, so the feel-good hormones. So when you're a non-functional addict, you feel that you can't get through the day without it. You're constantly thinking about it. You will do anything you can to conceal it, to minimize others seeing the effects of it happening to you. And every site that I was looking at is I could tell you all the negative consequences underneath the sun. I could tell you everything that the internet told me, which I thought it's not the same for everyone. And it's not. It really isn't the same for everyone. So you get to a stage where once you've contemplated it, you have your pre-contemplation stage, yes, where you think, you start to realize that there's something that something's not right. It doesn't mean that you make changes or you'll think about it and stuff like that, about recovery and all. It's you can start to realize there's an issue. Once you go into contemplation stage, that's where you take more acknowledgement and you start thinking about, maybe I do have an issue that I do need to work on. The pre-contemplation stage is there's something there, but I don't have to worry about it, kind of thing. I can still do what I'm doing. It doesn't impact me. It doesn't matter. But once you hit the contemplation stage, you cannot go backwards, because you already know that there's a problem. You can be in denial and all that kind of stuff. Every day is not going to be the same. But, you can't go backwards once you've already, acknowledged it and you know that it's a problem and stuff like that. And then you go and move towards, do I want to make a change? Is this impacting my life to the point that I can't live without it? Have I tried ways to quit? Am I doing it to escape reality? Am I doing it because of the traumas in my life? Am I doing it for a release, to help me relax? So many different things, why am I doing this to myself? Are you thinking about getting help? Because the next stage it focuses on starting the recovery process. So you may be thinking the next stage will be I at the point where I need help to stop? So then it's like, that becomes a long process in itself. And so you may think, okay, well, I can talk to a social worker and all that kind of stuff, support groups, all this kind of stuff, do your research. But then some people step backwards from there. And it's like, this is too much information, I don't think recovery is right for me and stuff like that, I don't have an issue. So then you go backwards into denial and go back to like using and all that kind of stuff more than what you were when you try to reduce. And it becomes a cycle. And so you'll get to the point again where you feel, okay, I shouldn't be doing this. So then you might actually do a bit more research and stuff and then go out and be like, I need help, I can't do this on my own. So you might reach out to your GP, your family, your friends and stuff. Get a referral for a psychologist, maybe going into detox or something like that. Just information based. And once you get the referral process going and stuff like that, again, once you get into recovery, it's going to be, do I need this? And I know for me with quite a few issues, not just addictions, it gets to a point where it's like, I don't know if this is the right thing for me. I'm not sick enough for help, all that kind of stuff. And it sucks, it does, it's so draining. But that is the point where you need help the most. When you're in the ambivalent stage of things and you don't know whether recovery is right for you. But stick with it, because if it's something that's impacting you that much, then it's possibly what you need. And then, you go through to the action stage where you go through with the supports, you go through with recovery and therapy and all that kind of stuff, putting in distractions to keep you busy from the fixations and all that, and thinking everything is going well, but you can always land in relapse. And you can relapse again and again and again, but it's a part of the cycle. So once you get into relapse, then you go back into contemplation, or you might go back into support-seeking mode, or you might go back into, let's go to detox, you might go back to action, or whatever it is. But, you can go through any of the stages of the cycle of relapse, but except for the pre-contemplation stage. So without getting too psychoanalytical and stuff around things, I just wanted to highlight that there are many different types of addiction, not just those that people stereotype as drugs and alcohol. And it's okay to need help. It's okay to reach out, because when life becomes really difficult, you know that when you could lose your job, you could become homeless, you lose friends, family, and all that kind of stuff, and you don't have the money to spend on your addiction, you don't want to hit that point. You don't want to be at rock bottom and be like, where do I go, because I can't do anything with my life. And unfortunately, that's where people end up leading to more risk-taking behaviours, and they could end up suicidal and stuff because they don't feel a purpose in life, because they stuffed up and all that kind of stuff. And trust me, it sucks so much, and you don't want to get to that stage. I've been there before, and it's not pretty. So you need to be able to recognise when things are too hard for you, and reach out. Because, as I said, it's not just those things around drugs and alcohol that are stereotyped as being an addiction. It could be absolutely anything that you become dependent on. So again, I'll highlight, they could be things like maladaptive behaviours that you use to cope. So for me, that was self-harm. It could be exercise. It could be things like over-the-counter prescriptions. It could be pain medication. It can be sugar, carbohydrates. It could be you're addicted to chocolate. You could be, so anything that can impact your health. It could honestly be anything. Don't give in to the fads, because they are just nothing but placebo, and it's like, when I talk about diet pills and diuretics, it just increases your heart rate, suppress your appetite, so you're restricting and all that kind of stuff, and it doesn't help because you end up binging, and then you feel worse for it. you end up dehydrated, all that kind of fun stuff. So I'm telling you that, like, from personal experience, that they will land you up in hospital. When it comes to things like sex addiction and all that kind of stuff, I don't really have experience on that, but I do know that it will impact you the same way that, like, drugs and alcohol and stuff like that. Releasing the feel-good chemicals, and the reactions through your body may feel good and all that kind of stuff, but if you have to rely on pornography and stuff to help you feel good, then it can be a problem. And you'll know it's a problem when you have to hide things from people, when you can't be authentic around people. Like, when I was addicted to the diet pills and diuretics and I had people come over, I had to hide them because I didn't want them to see. I didn't want people to see me taking them either. So you conceal things. You minimize the impacts of it around people. You think that, like, it's not a problem if people don't actually know what you're doing. But it is a problem because it impacts you. So the point of all of this is that addiction is can be seen as a mental illness, and it is, because it does take a high toll on your body and your mind and your social life and everything in between, your health. And you don't really want to be put in hospital because of it, because then you get the mental health team on your case and stuff, and having to go through the whole process of looking into things like therapy and stuff, or you feel that people don't believe you, you're not sick enough, all that kind of stuff, and that also makes you feel worse and go back into using and all that fun stuff. Sarcasm, it's not fun. But yeah, so if you feel that you have a problem, do speak up about it. We are trying to end the stigma around mental health. And keep the conversation open. If someone is concerned about you and stuff, it's a great opportunity to open the conversation, to start to reach out for support, whether it's your GP, a friend or a family member to support you to go to the GP, a psychologist, social worker, caseworker, whatever it is that you have. You need to distract yourself in the moments when things are really, really hard and you feel like abusing a substance. So something that could be good is attending support groups. There are free support groups in the community, so you don't have to worry about paying a large fee to do things. So it could be going to cooking classes at a community centre, it could be going for a bushwalk. They could be therapeutic groups around addictions and stuff, like AA, for Alcohol Anonymous, that kind of stuff. So these are things that can help you stay accountable to recovering. Now, I could have gone into the research around recovery with addictions and stuff, but again, it's one of those things where it's not one thing is going to work for everyone. So that's where, mentioning getting a